A very warm welcome to this roundtable discussion on the situation in northeast Syria, focusing on humanitarian emergency, human rights violations and escape ISIS fighters, organized by the Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs of the House of Representatives. A warm welcome as well to the people on the public gallery and those following this roundtable discussion via the live stream. Of course, a warm welcome also to the speakers and to the members of the committee. The roundtable discussion will last 2 hours and consist 2 rounds. The first round includes 4 speakers and will be conducted in English. The second round includes 3 speakers and will be conducted in Dutch. Each speaker will have 5 minutes for a short introduction to deliver their opening statement, and after that we will ask the members of the House to have an opportunity and ask their questions. I would now like to give the floor to the first speaker, and that's Wuria Karadaghy, en hij is voormalig medewerker van de UNDP.
Okay. Good morning, and Mrs. Chairperson and the desk officer, I think, and members of the Parliament and visitors and my colleagues. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation to allow me to express my words for the case of the northeast Syria, as we call it, ROJAVA. As a matter of fact, which has been vital for the last 15 years, and in the recent days we had a political solution, but it's a fragile solution, still needs secure opportunities. The Kurds in northeast of Syria, what we call it ROJAVA, currently is in a transitional stage that could be described through the 3 phases. Phase 1 is the stage of humanitarian need for returnees and IDPs. And IDPs, internal displaced person, and we have DPs, displaced person, within certain areas, where the priority is meeting urgent basic needs such as food, shelter, healthcare, water, sanitation, and essential services for communities affected by the conflict. Phase 2 is the stage of recovery in order to make the returnees process sustainable, in which the focus shifted towards rebuilding community-based development by restoring infrastructure, but here we call it small-scale infrastructure, proper shelters, and reestablishing institutions and services, and creating a degree of social and economic stability. Phase 3 is sustainable development, which goes beyond immediate recovery and aims at long-term growth, political inclusion, and institution capacity development, durable economic opportunity, and the involvement of communities in building peace bridges, in particular the multi-ethnic places. At present, the Kurdish northeast of Syria, as known as ROJAVA, remains largely between Phase 1 and Phase 2. Humanitarian needs are still very real, while recovery efforts are only partially taking shapes. At the same time, ROJAVA should also be in a position to contribute to Phase 3, sustainable development, where it is appropriate. However, this transition is extremely difficult because of this stage depends on a local and regional political stability. A central problem is the lack of stable legal and political foundation, which exists in practice in its presidential decree, rather than a clear constitutional order. More of the decrees is signed by the president. It's not by the Parliament, of House of Senate, or by the Constitution. So, the country is still without Constitution. It's a presidential decree. Decisions are made by the president and then implemented through presidential decree. But there is no border constitutional structure that provides long-term guarantees, accountability, or institutional stability. This makes governance highly depends on executive power and leaves the little room for predictability, and that's necessary for genuine recovery and development. As a result, ROJAVA is caught in an insecure stage. Generally, post-conflict scenarios need a special integration plan. Without a clear constitutional foundation, it will remain fragile and questionable for ROJAVA and the central government. Thank you very much.
We first go to Mr. Karadaghy for the first question.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mr. Landschot. Toch? Van Landschot. Okay. I do speak Dutch, by the way. Yeah. Good. Working 27 years for UNDP in most difficult countries in the world. I must say that conflict and post-conflict countries. 7 years in Sri Lanka, sandwiched between the Tamil and the central government. 4 years in Balkan, in Bosnia, and in Kosovo. I must say that in all these countries where I worked, in South Africa, even during the election and before the election, during apartheid, I was there. The role of European Union was very positive and very vital. I must say that the soft politic of the European Union has contributed a big space for negotiation and encouraging local community to participate in building peace bridges between the ethnic groups and between the affected communities and the central government. I never forget those words which the Commission, the EU Commission with Javier Solana, I think, if I'm not wrong. He visited us in Kosovo. I brought him to one of those projects. And he told me, what's the role of the government of Kosovo in bringing the Serb and the Kosovar on the negotiation table? I told him, start from local communities. If the local communities understand each other and accept each other, then the role of the government will be easier. But if the local communities, they reject each other, then the role of the government is going to be difficult. And that's exactly what the European Commission has decided, to increase their effort to support local solutions, in particular the participation of the communities in decision maker. And that has brought an enormous positive results to the whole political process. And that is, I must say, that the European Union has always been playing a major role in peace building and peace negotiation, and we Kurds are very proud to have such a power behind us. Thank you very much.
We can start maybe on this side of the table. Mr. Karadaghy.
I think the question was how many people are going back to Syria. Am I right, Mrs. Mas?
Yes, but I also had the question on what the government itself can do in humanitarian assistance.
Mm-hmm. I think the first, I don't have the exact data and information about the number of people of what we call it returnees back to Syria, but in Turkey there are about 6.5 million Syrian, and up to now the record says is only 300,000 people are willing to go back, and especially those who live in the tents, in the camps. But people who has integrated themselves into the big cities, most of them, they don't want to go back. And most of them, they got Turkish nationality, and they were supporting the election that they were used also for the election, of course, in Turkey. But everybody want to go back from those in the camps in Turkey. Everyone, because their life is, they live in a miserable situation in Turkey, especially in the winter.
Yes, Mr. Karadaghy.
Yes. Thank you. Mr. Bosma, I will tell you about a simple story. It happened with me in 2000. I was on mission to Damascus in 2000, and I met Syrian officials, and they asked me, where do I come from? Because my name is Turkish, but I'm a Kurd. I said, I'm a Kurd. And I assume you have also Kurdish people in Syria. And the Syrian official from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Chief Protocol, he told me, we have Kurds, but they are not Syrian citizens. They are refugees. They fled Turkey during the massacre of the Armenian, together with Assyrian and Armenian, and they settled here. So we consider them as refugees. And we are now in 2026. The mindset of Syrian has been changed positively. I must say that is a big step towards a tolerance attitude of the Syrian. Today they said Kurds for the first time, and the Kurds is recognized. And in the past they didn't have ID card. I think my colleague Mr. Peshmerga can surely confirm that Kurds from Syria, they didn't have ID card, Syrian ID card. They were not allowed to even have a passport in the past. Today, the attitude has changed. Not because Syrian, they took a Panadol and they became a Democrat. No, there is no such a tablet. But because of the pressure from the Kurdish self, they were struggling for the self-determination, and also the international. I must say that the role of European Union, and in particular France, has contributed positively to the recognition of the right of the Kurds. And therefore, I put in my position paper that we have to have an independent international commission for inquiry. And that's very important. I must say that without your support, we cannot make it. With your support, we will be much stronger. And I assume that Netherlands will play a major role in that inquiry commission. Thank you.
All of what we heard is rather concerning, and it also confirms certain suspicions. But it seems very, very urgent to provide more humanitarian aid to this region. So, is there any suggestions you could give us to what the best way is to go about that? And do you think we should focus more on supporting local organizations and channel funds towards a sort of more regional or local organization rather than through the government? Or do you have any advice on how to go about this?
And who would you like to answer this question?
I don't know.
Okay, if the answers are short, we can, everyone can have a short answer. Mr. Karadaghy?
Yes, I think it is better to focus on local NGOs rather than government, because government cannot reach certain areas, and if they reach those certain areas, it's going to be a problem, because most of the problem has been solved. So it is better to focus on local NGOs because they have access, and they speak the language, they know the areas, and they are more reliable than the government institutions for the time being, unless there is a joint committees between the government and NGO, but I don't know at this moment. But once again, it's better to go through to use the local NGOs to reach the most vulnerable people in those war-affected areas.
One last thing to add.
One last chance. Mr. Bosma, if you allow me that, I suggest that Netherlands government or any institution could organize a seminar in Netherlands to invite the local NGOs to draw a mechanism for the involvement of local NGOs together with international NGOs, and in particular Dutch NGOs. They can contribute in the rehabilitation of the damaged infrastructure. I think that will be a great idea to have the local NGOs in Netherlands for 1 day or 2 day seminar to draw a mechanism and to how can we use them in the rehabilitation of their damaged social and physical infrastructure. Thank you.
That brings us to the end of this first round of this roundtable, and I would like to sincerely thank to all the speakers for their valuable contributions and insights. And I would also like to thank everyone in this very busy room, as well as those who followed this discussion via the live stream. And of course, finally, my thanks go to the members of the House for their questions and engagement. And with that, I would like to pause this roundtable, and we proceed around 11:20 with the second round of speakers.